Welcome back to Entertainment Talk. Today I'm here to do the second part, I suppose, of our best and worst of 2020. I'm your host Matthew, of course, and what I'm going to be doing in this is something I was going to do last year, but I actually kind of abandoned the idea. I'm going to now, at the moment, sort out the best and worst of 2020. So TV, video games, films, and not necessarily Manchester United, but the best and worst player of the year as well. So just that's the only parts of this that's going to be football related, just the best and worst player of the year. But I thought I would sit here and record me sort of brainstorming the decisions and organising the best and worst of 2020. So we've got TV, video games, films, and then the best and worst player of the year from Manchester United. And this is going to be called, of course, deciding that list. So what I'm going to do in terms of organising all this, I'm recording this now, of course, and then this is going to be released a week after we do the actual best and worst of 2020 podcast. Gray is supposed to be joining me and David for that. I don't know if that will definitely happen. You'll know by this point because that podcast will already have come out, so you can have a look out for that as well. I should be able to also put the link to that in the show notes. If I haven't, just search for 2020 or the best of or whatever on the website, and you should be able to find that as well. But this is just going to be me organising that list. Hey everyone, I'm just going through and editing the episode, and I realised I didn't put in the part where I explained that you need to listen to the last week's episode first. What I mean by last week's episode is the actual full best and worst of 2020 podcast. The one that you're listening to now that I'm recording this for is the deciding the best and worst of 2020. But the one from last week, the one that should have, well, we're recording it tomorrow, the one that should have me, David and Gray on, which is actually talking about our lists. You need to listen to that one first, because this episode that you're listening to now is sort of like a behind the scenes one of kind of deciding that list. So go and listen to the other one first, like I did just mentioned a little bit ago in the podcast. The link for that should be in the show notes if I remember to put it in there, but if not, like I said, it will be on the recent posts, so go and have a listen to that. But you do need to listen to that one first and then listen to this. It's sort of like you listen to what we decided or what I decided, and then a week later when this one comes out, you listen to why I decided those selections. So I just want to put that in here, but on with the rest of the episode. Now, I have already decided a lot of this stuff, but it's sort of figuring out, the top 5 of different things, and so on and so forth. So I am actually going to have to minimize my recorder for this, which is, I don't like doing it, but in order for me to actually click on my Word document, I have to do that. So let's go TV first. Doesn't matter which order I do this, I can always change it later on. So TV. Right, so this is where I've already figured certain things out. Zoe's playlist is number 1. Number 2, Good Girls Season 3. I guess I should write the seasons in, shouldn't I? Season 1. So this might be a little bit different in terms of things that you've heard us record before. I am just going to now and again check on the the recorder, make sure it doesn't crash, because sometimes it can do that. Number 3, I think I'm going to go with Westworld. What they did with the tech this season, everything was great. Westworld Season 3. Number 4. So I'm not okay with this. The Kingdom's got to be in here. Ricky Gervais's Afterlife has got to be near the top. What else was there from the season? Mandalorian's really, really good. So I was thinking about this a little bit yesterday, this list, because I started sort of brainstorming it a little bit to prepare for actually doing this today. I'm not going to put Mandalorian as high as some of these others. Mandalorian doesn't really have the story depth as much as some of these others. I think it's a great fun sci-fi show, and it's really, really good, but I think it doesn't quite have the depth with the story and things. Maybe it will later on. Maybe it will when we get to the 3rd season, but we'll figure that out when we get to that season. Number 4, I think I can go with I am not okay with this season 1. Cruelly cancelled after 1 season. That's a big shame. There was so much potential for that for the future. Number 5, The Kingdom. So I'm just sort of jotting down how I feel at the moment, and then I might move these things around a little bit once we sort of form a list. Number 6, Afterlife, which is significantly lower than what I had its first season. I had it at number 2, but I just think some of these shows were a little bit stronger. They all do different things. Like, you can't really compare Afterlife and The Kingdom. One's like a zombie drama with a bit of politics, and one's about like mental health and things. So 7. Better Call Saul's got to go in here somewhere as well. And see, Better Call Saul should be in the top 5. Mandalorian's got to go in here. See, I'm almost at 10. I've already run out of space. I was thinking about this the other day as well, and I said to myself, like, okay, what are 5 shows that need to go in the top 5? And I picked 7 shows. So, because I pretty much picked the ones I got at the moment. I'm also going to possibly need to look at other shows I've reviewed as well. So I remember recording this last year, and I thought, like, hey, I may or may not release this, but I'm going to release it this year. So, but yeah, this is going to be a bit of a different paced sort of podcast than what we used to, because I'm figuring something out as we're going through. 6, Afterlife. 7. So which one was better? You got Better Call Saul and you got The Mandalorian. I think Better Call Saul's got to go above it. Better Call Saul. 8, The Mandalorian. It's brilliant. It just doesn't have... You look at these shows, right? Zoe, Good Girls, Westworld, I'm Not Okay with This, Kingdom, Afterlife, Better Call Saul. You can't... I mean, because you can tell me. You can't really tell me that Mandalorian's got more depth, like character-wise and that sort of thing. I know there's a lot of Star Wars lore in there, but it's a bit more of a scaled-down, simpler sort of show. So, but I still got included in here. Number 9... What are we going to go with for number 9? And I may well do this in multiple parts and kind of put it together as I go along, because I don't need to fully decide this for another couple of weeks. So, Mandalorian. I haven't really got any comedy shows in here. What was good for comedy this year? This is something I haven't said. Brooklyn Nine-Nine probably had its worst season last season. I did not find that very enjoyable at all. Number 9. Yeah, well, let's come back to TV. I can't really think of any other shows at the moment. Other things that I reviewed. Let's move on to video games for a second. Video games. What can you guess? Number 1, Last of Us 2. Of Us Part 2. See, things like the top 5 I've got figured out for most of these. Number 2, Crash Bandicoot. Oops. So I'm trying to spell this stuff correctly, but it actually doesn't matter because I'm the only one that's going to see this list. Number 3, Cyberpunk's not actually out yet, so that probably will be included. It depends how much of that game I can play between December 10th when it comes out, if I get it on December 10th, and when we actually do this, which is going to be sort of the last thing of the year that we record. Number 3, Iron Man VR. Just for now. Number 4, Ghost of Tsushima. Number 5. I just played Watch Dogs Legion. I actually just reviewed it. You'll be seeing that coming out soon. I don't think it's a top 5 game of the year though. I haven't played Animal Crossing. Doom Eternal was the other one that got nominated. That didn't really click for me. I had Fallen Order in my list last year. I know it's eligible this year for the awards, but I actually had it in my list last year. So there's that as well. Spider-Man I haven't played yet. That's probably a contender. Things like Among Us I haven't played. Fall Guys is good, but it's not in the top 5 games of the year. Call of Duty's obviously been nominated for Best Ongoing, but that's a game from last year as well. Resident Evil 3 definitely not. It just didn't quite do what it needed to do. What's the other games? Can't really think of many other games. Cyberpunk, like I said, Cyberpunk, Spider-Man will probably get added in here, but I haven't played them, and Cyberpunk's not actually out yet. So I can't include those. So that's video games for now. So I'm just sort of temporarily doing this. Films. What are you for films? Alive, number 1. 2, Birds of Prey. Parasite, number 3, maybe. Sight. 4. 1917. Sonic was quite good. Sonic. I was going to put Sonic movie, but I literally don't need to type that in. 6. We had no Marvel films this year, no Star Wars films this year, no DC films this year. Quiet Place 2 isn't going to come out this year. Because Quiet Place 2 would have very likely been near number 1, because I'm so excited for that film. That's pretty much a top 5. It's weird. I feel weird putting Sonic in the top 5, but not much has come out this year. Tenet, however you say that, wasn't amazing. New Mutants, I did like it a lot. I think it's a bit underrated, actually. But is it a top film of the year? There's just not a lot of competition, because nothing's really come out. Wonder Woman didn't come out. What was the other DC film that's supposed to come out this year? There's usually 2 DC films, isn't there? I can't think of what the other one actually was. But yeah, we were supposed to have, Eternals, Black Widow this year. That won't be happening. Mulan, I haven't seen. So my number 1 film of the year is a Netflix film, which is interesting. But I really, really did enjoy Birds of Prey a lot. Oh yeah, that's the other one, of course. Birds of Prey, which did come out because that was before COVID. And then Wonder Woman was supposed to come out, but that will be for Christmas Day. See, things that are that late in the year, like Wonder Woman I'll probably put on the list for next year, because, well, by the time that comes out, we probably would have done this podcast anyway. That's pretty much it for films. So I've done my TV, games and films. That's the best of the year. Let's go on to the worst. Worst, see, some of these I've already thought of, which is where the pacing for the podcast kicks up a bit. Worst TV show of the year, Titans. Just annoyed me so much, so bad. Most disappointing, because there's a difference there, isn't there? Disappointing and worst. It's still like bad overall, but disappointment and then worst. Like I didn't have any high expectations going into Titan season 2 because I didn't like the first season either. And again, it's one of them weird shows where like there's a good show in Titans somewhere, it just hasn't happened yet. Disappointing TV show, first half of Fear, season 6. Fear the Walking Dead season 6. I'll put first half. Worst game of the year, Avengers. Worst game of the generation. Things we're at the end of the generation now. The PS5 is out, and Xbox Series X. I'm gonna put Avengers as well. Game of the generation. Most disappointing game of the generation is also Avengers. It's probably going to win the most awards in this, but none of them are good. Avengers. And the only reason I'm doing like of the generation, I can't do that every year, it's just that happens to land in 2020 because we are now. Am I still recording? Yes, I am. Just that happens to be in there. So yeah, worst game of the generation, most disappointing game of the generation, and of both for the year. So there's 4 for the Avengers that I'm going to put, because I've got to do most disappointing and worst, and it was both, and then it just happens to be the end of the generation. So I don't need to write that down really, because I'm going to remember that, hopefully. So worst game, worst TV show, worst film of the year. I don't know what to choose for that. Film of the year. It feels really harsh to give that to Tenet, but I didn't. That is the film in 2020 that I didn't enjoy the most. But it's not a terrible film. It just tries too hard to pull things off. Robert Pattinson's acting's really good. I think it's David Washington. His acting's really, really good. There's some good ideas there. They're just not executed very well. And I liked New Mutants more, but people are going to give New Mutants worst film of the year. I forgot to put Onward in my films. Onward. See, that's why I'm gonna have to revisit this list and think about things a little bit more. This is like a first draft kind of thing. Can you see how much effort I put into this thing? So, yeah, worst film of the year. I just put Tenet for now, just because I can't. Which feels really weird because I can't think of anything else. So I don't know about like worst. Actually, I do know who I want to pick for worst actor of the year. Donald Sutherland in Undoing. He's not very good in that role. So yeah, I wouldn't usually pick worst actor or actress because I usually bad acting doesn't stick out to me as much as it possibly should. I just sort of notice better performances, and then with more average performances that are probably worse than what I think, I just sort of put them down to average performances. That's probably one of my weak points in analysis. I don't usually recognize. Well, I mean, like if you got outright really obvious bad, terrible acting, you can recognize it. I just don't think he's very good in that role. So worst actor of the year, Donald. Certainly not as good as his son, Kiefer. I mean, I haven't seen all of Donald Sutherland's work, but he's not very good in The Undoing. Best actor of the year, I want to give it to Michael Sheen, and I'll look up the character's name later, but the dad from Prodigal Son. That's such an interesting role, and just double check I'm still recording. Has such an interesting role. He plays it really, really well, because part of him you're like, hey, I could kind of hang out with that guy, but like he might kill me. So, because he has got this like, hey son, it's good to see you kind of thing, and like, hey, it's a nice, he makes jokes about like, oh, it's a family reunion, but then this guy's a serial killer that killed like 20 people, so there's the danger to him, but like part of his character is really fun, and the balance and act of that, Michael Sheen does really, really well. There's certain villain roles that are just entertaining, aren't they? So, best actor of the year, yeah, Michael Sheen. Best actress of the year, actress of the year. I've got a lot of candidates. There is, oh god, I can't think of her name from Westworld. Dolores, Rachel Evan Wood. She was really, really good. But someone has got to give Rhea Seehorn credit for Kim, and I'm going to do that. So Rhea Seehorn, Kim, Better Call Saul. There's a lot of candidates for that, but someone's just got to give her something. Goodness sake. Was she even nominated Emmy-wise for Best Actress this year? I don't think she was. I mean, Merritt Weaver wasn't, which is still just shocks me. So, for Unbelievable, of course. But, yeah. Best Actress of the Year, Kim. I can't think of any particularly bad actresses. Again, you've got to kind of do a particularly bad job in that role for me to actually notice that, and Donald Sutherland just sticks out to me, so apologies to him, but yeah, that's that. Let's move on to football for a second. Best footballer, or Man United footballer. Man United footballer. I've just typed in footballer twice for some reason. Bruno Fernandes, easy. Bruno Fernandes. Without him, I don't know where the hell we would be. Probably wouldn't have Champions League football, and we wouldn't be in the top half of the table. At least at the point that I'm recording this, I have no idea what's happened to Manchester United by the time we get to when I'm going to be releasing this. Best footballer, Bruno Fernandes. Worst footballer, Harry Maguire. Worst footballer, Man United footballer. I'll just put player. I know what I'm talking about. Harry Maguire. What's really ironic about that is Harry Maguire is the actual captain, again at least at the time of recording. Harry Maguire is the actual captain of the team, never shows any captain leadership or any leadership whatsoever, kind of hides away from the ball when he's supposed to be getting in there, so to speak, because he's supposed to be our big imposing centre-back. And Bruno Fernandes, who's not actually the captain, acts like the captain, because that's just part of his game, and he takes a leadership role. So one of them should be captain that isn't, and one of them is captain that shouldn't be. But our manager can't see that for some reason. But literally every Man United fan can see that. He just, I don't know, he doesn't want to give that out, take that away from him. So that's most of the stuff. So what have we got? Let's just quickly recap. TV 1 to 8. And the reason I'm going to need to go on the website and have a dig through a little bit of things that I've looked at is because there is a tendency that things that come out in like January, February, March, April, or the early part of the year, people tend to forget about those sort of things. So I don't want there to have been a show I saw in January that I really, really liked, but just is a bit more of a distant memory just because it's been so long. But yeah, we've got 1 to 8 for TV. Games 1 to 4. There's 2 kind of pending because I haven't played Spider-Man or Cyberpunk. Films 1 to 6. I'll probably stick with that because there's just not a whole lot else. Soul is going to be coming out, but that's going to be coming out on Disney Plus December 25th, so that will be pretty much included with next year. Worst TV show, yep, Titans. That's the second season that debuted in January. See, the worst sticks out in your mind, but yeah. Worst TV show of the year, Titans. Just for so many reasons. Most disappointing, Fear the first half of season 6. Worst game of the generation, Avengers, and then for disappointing, you kind of double up on that. Worst film of the year, Tenet, which is really weird. Worst actor, Donald Sutherland. Best actor, best actress, best player, worst player. There were some other things I think I was going to write down, but I can't think of off the top of my head. But that is the first draft. I'm going to leave it here. There will be an edit here anyway, so there's not going to be like multiple parts. The different times that I go to record and sort out this draft, I'm going to basically record different parts. But that's the first part of this. I don't know how long this podcast is going to be because that's already been 20 minutes. But that's the first part of it. I guess I'll see you at some point in the future for the next part. See you in the next piece. Okay, so I am back to do the second half of this podcast. So we've got 8 shows still in the TV section, which doesn't seem like that many, but I'm going to get to some of those in a minute. 4 video games, 6 films, and then we've got worst TV show, most disappointing TV show, worst game of the year and of the generation, worst film of the year, worst actor of the year. I've decided I am going to take that out the main show. It just doesn't feel very relevant, the worst actor of the year, who I did choose as Donald Sutherland. I'm going to keep it in this podcast just to, because this podcast is all about, the method of actually going through and deciding things. So I'll keep it in here, mention that I've decided to take it out, but it's not going to be in the main podcast. I'm going to remove that. Best actor, actress, best footballer, worst footballer of the year. I didn't actually remember doing worst TV show of the year, most disappointing TV show. So yeah, worst game, worst and most disappointing game is going to be the Avengers one, because it does fill both those categories for me. Worst film of the year, Tenet, which is still weird, but that's still kind of what I'd have to go for. And what I'm going to do now, because I'm going to be watching some bits and pieces of things, maybe a couple of films between now and when this podcast comes out, but anything I pretty much watch or play between now onwards is like not going to be included. So I am maybe planning to watch the Mulan film some point soon, but that's not going to be included in worst or best of the year. Some of those things will be shifted to next year's podcast. So things like Cyberpunk, it's too late to put that in now. I still haven't played it. Miles Morales, I still haven't got that game. So those 2 games, which were pretty big ones for 2020, those won't be included. So those will all be shifted to next year. I think I'll stick with the films that I've got. So Alive, Birds of Prey, Parasite, 1917, Sonic, Onward. You know what? I'll put 7, Enola Holmes. It's worth putting on here. I think it was quite good. It was more of a fun film than anything else, so I will put it at 7th. Onward I do want to put above Sonic, definitely. So that goes to 5th, and Sonic will move to 6th. I think I wrote that down as like a draft sort of thing last time, so I'm going to move that. So we've now got Alive, Birds of Prey, Parasite, 1917, Onward, Sonic, then Enola Holmes. Again, a bit of a different year for films. I am going to watch the Train to Busan sequel, Road to Peninsula. I've forgotten the actual name of that film. Something about Peninsula. But the Train to Busan sequel, again, that's going to be pushed to next year's choices because it's just too late now to start adding in new things, I suppose, that I haven't yet watched or played. Because you've got to pick a cut-off date at some point. I know David's got his own rules for that and whatever. But yeah, in terms of my choices, I'm stopping counting new things now. Because if I do get Cyberpunk like tomorrow, then put 10 hours in between now and Monday or whatever, I still don't think it's, that's a big game and it's too much of it left to sort of judge and all that kind of stuff, and so I'm going to move that to later. Most disappointing, I think I'm all good on the worst TV show of the year, most disappointing TV show, all those like extra little categories. I was thinking of doing Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan for Best Actor, and I was also considering what's his name, Giancarlo Esposito as I think his name's Moff Gideon from The Mandalorian. But no, I was particularly impressed with Michael Sheen. I could also put Giancarlo Esposito for Gus for Better Call Saul this year. Still a fantastic actor. Actually, what I'll do, because I've mentioned him, I'm not going to spell his name right, but that's not going to matter because I'm the only one that's going to see these notes. Giancarlo Esposito, honorable mention for Better Call Saul, Gus, The Mandalorian, Moff Gideon. There we go. So yeah, honorable mention to him definitely. But with these types of categories, I do just want to do singular sort of choices, like not top 5 best actors, top 5 best actresses, whatever. I do definitely just want to do singular choices, because otherwise this podcast will be several hours long. Games I'm pretty much settled on for this: Last of Us, Crash, Iron Man, Ghost of Tsushima. Those were the games I enjoyed the most. Certainly those top 3 really stick out to me. Ghost of Tsushima was a really good game, but it doesn't deserve to go above these other 3 games, I think. Because at the moment I'm playing like Super Mario Sunshine, the 3DS, not 3DS, 3D All-Stars thing for Switch, but like it's a port of a game from like 2002, so I'm not going to include that. Plus I'm not going to include the whole package because I didn't play 64 on there, and I haven't played Galaxy, so that's sort of out of the question. PES, which I'm playing at the moment, is last year's version. What's the other game I'm playing? Last of Us 2 I'm doing like bits and pieces for, but no, I've obviously got Last of Us 2 as the first one anyway, as number 1. I can't think of any other game, like Resident Evil, no, I think I've already discussed that. So yeah, in terms of films and games, I'm pretty much set on those 4. It feels weird not to have 5 games. Maybe at some point there'll be another piece to this, and I'll put that in there. TV is the one where I think I've got a big gap here. I think what I'm going to do in a moment is cut here, check on the website just to sort of remind myself of what I reviewed. But I've got Zoe's Playlist, Good Girls, Westworld, I'm Not Okay With This, The Kingdom, Afterlife, Better Call Saul, The Mandalorian. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to cut here, add this little 7-minute piece here to the podcast, check what other shows I've reviewed, and then potentially jog my memory a bit, because I had 8. I've got 8 here, and I had 16 last year, so there must be some things I'm maybe missing. I mean, again, things like Raised by Wolves that I'm really enjoying at the moment, I'm going to push that to next year, because I haven't finished the season. It's not really fair to judge it. I don't really know what to do with Star Trek Discovery, because I'm really enjoying the later half of this season. I think it's building up to some really good stuff, but even by the time this podcast comes out, that season doesn't finish until next year, so I think that's quite appropriate to put that in next year's in the 2021 best and worst of. Plus season 4 probably won't be next year, so you won't have 2 seasons sort of clashing. Mandalorian is in here pretty much for season 1 and 2, because for those of you in the US that don't know, we got Disney Plus in March this year. They played the 8 episodes out. I think they started off with 2 and then went with the other 6. And then we pretty much have had, the rest of the season. Season 2 will be finished by the time, because season 2 finishes on Friday this week. It's the 14th of December at the moment, by the way. But no, it's been fantastic enough to where, it's only got one episode left, and by the time I go to pretty much finish this, the season will be over. But yeah, Star Trek, I'll push to next year because the rest of the episodes of the season could be bad. I don't know. So yeah, another one I'm not going to include. I can't remember if I've mentioned this already in the podcast. So apologies if I'm repeating things. The Good Place I'm going to leave out just because it had like 2 episodes this year, and I'm pretty sure I put it either the first or the second spot for last year's podcast, so that's pretty much sort of had its say. Tell you one other show I did really enjoy, and it did finish this year, and it did have its final season this year. Schitt's Creek was really good, so that's number 9 to put in. I think what I'm going to do now, like I said, cut this here and then check the website for my other reviews just to sort of jog my own memory, and then I'll be back with part 3. See you in a minute. Alright, so I'm just having a scroll through the website at the moment. The first one that's come up, I did the Spoiler Talk podcast today with Grey is the Undoing. I'm going to temporarily put that as number 10, because that was a good show. A little bit off on the ending, I suppose, but it was still quite a good show. I've written down number 10, but not the actual name. Number 10, The Undoing. Again, these are going to be shifted around because I'm just jotting down different shows. I'm going to have to scroll a little bit. Star Trek podcast, yeah. Walking Dead World Beyond, that needs to be in here. 11, The Walking Dead World. Oops. I don't know why I'm bothering to spell things right, because I'm the only one that can see this. World Beyond. Fear the Walking Dead has no chance of going in the best TV list because I've already put it in most disappointing. The Walking Dead, while I'm at it, I'll put that in here. If I'm going to put World Beyond in here, I'm just going to put TWD. I know what that means. So that definitely deserves to go in here. If I'm putting one of the spin-offs in there, the main show has improved significantly over the last couple of years. Just scrolling down to see... because I'm looking in our TV category. There is a lot of like Star Trek and gaming talk. Right, TV talk. Because there's things that I haven't reviewed that I did really like. High School Musical was one of them. I'm not going to put that in this list. That possibly gets an honourable mention. I don't know. I'll wait for season 2. It wasn't like a mind-blowing show. It was fun. I had a good time with it. It was fun. But no, that shouldn't really go on the list. Emily in Paris. It was good. It was very good. I don't think it goes on this list. Maybe we're running out of spaces already a little bit. We've already got 12 shows. I'm not trying to make it up to 16. I'm just trying to see if I've missed things in the past. But Emily in Paris was very, very good. I don't know if it's like incredible television. Let's keep scrolling. Mandalorian, I've already mentioned. Star Trek podcasts. Let's go to an older page. Walking Dead stuff. Star Trek. Well, I've just come across our Breaking Bad season 1 feedback. That's a 2008 to 2013 show, so no, rewatches don't count in this particular scenario. So no, I'm not going to include Breaking Bad. Obviously that's a show that finished 7 years ago. So, and I've got the spin-off in here anyway with Better Call Saul already. Quibi. I'm looking at my Analyzing TV episode 3, and it's the Fall of Quibi episode. Now I'm just thinking about The Fugitive and Survive. They were both good. We never talked about I've never talked about The Fugitive on a podcast, which is really weird now that I think about it. Me and David were going to do like a little podcast on that, but it just we just never got around to actually recording it. I think we probably won't do that now. Quibi's dead as well. Not that has any say on the quality of those 2 shows, but Quibi's dead, so we probably won't get follow-ups to those unless somebody else gets them. But no, I think I'll leave those 2 off. This is something I needed to remind myself of. 2 shows that I want to give honourable mentions to that didn't come out this year. Actually, one of them did. Right, let me explain. So Dragon Prince and Working Mums. Two shows are absolutely fantastic. The third season, the most recent one of Dragon Prince, was a 2019 show, so that doesn't count. I did watch it like around Christmas, but it's, yeah, I wouldn't really include it necessarily. And then Working Mums. Now, Working Mums does have a season that was released this year. That was season 4, but I haven't actually seen that season, so it could be terrible. I don't know. I've only seen the first 2 seasons, so I'm going to write them down. Working Mums. I'm not going to put a number next to them, just so I remind myself. Dragon Prince. I'm just going to sort of mention them as, well, honourable mentions, really. But they're not officially going to be on the list, because they don't really count for those 2 reasons. Reaction, Jimmy Savile drama, just, well, it's not been created anyway, and there's no way that I would put that in a best of kind of thing. I can't think of too many other things. The other thing I do remember, the other 2 shows I do remember is BoJack Horseman, which definitely deserves to be on here. BoJack Horseman, the final season. That was the start of this year. That was like back in February or something. See, you forget those shows that came out in like January, February, March. Everyone forgets them. And in 14, I am gonna put not The Undoing. What was it called? I've forgotten the name of the show. The horror one that was on HBO. The Outsider. I knew it was the something, because we also talked about it on the Geektown Awards. Right, so this is where a little bit of sorting comes into play. So I'm pretty settled on that top 8. Schitt's Creek, Mandalorian. Schitt's Creek and Mandalorian. And then we got Undoing, Walking Dead World Beyond, The Walking Dead, the show, the main show, BoJack, Outsider. There's quite a bit of sorting out to do here. I'm probably going to edit out actually where I did a bunch of scrolling just then. Right. So, I like that top 8 from Zoe to Mandalorian for the top 8. Schitt's Creek. Was Schitt's Creek better than any of those shows? See, how do you compare Schitt's Creek to Mandalorian? I don't really know. Oh, you know, one really, really, really big show I've missed off this list, 911. I don't know how I've missed that, but number 15, 911. I'm not going to put Lone Star in here. I'm just going to put the main show. We've got some sorting out to do here. So 911, right, was 911 better than The Outsider? Yes. Was it better than BoJack Horseman? Yes. Was it better than The Walking Dead? Yes, I think so. 911 just does so many good things. It's just, there's never been a show, maybe the old versions of Star Trek that I never really saw. There's never been a show that I've cared more about the red shirt characters in. The 911. They're like, the random people that make the 911 calls. Their partner or family member or friend is stuck or injured or whatever else has happened. And yeah. So Outsider, yes, it goes above that, above that, above that. Does it go above Walking Dead World Beyond? I think it goes near the Walking Dead World Beyond. Undoing, Schitt's Creek. These are really good. Well, talking about the best TV, it's difficult to do this. And then I've got to ask myself, was Outsider better than BoJack? Was that better than Walking Dead? Because I'm pretty settled on like the top 7 here. But then 911, is that a top 5 show? It kind of is, but then if 911's a top 5 show, do you take out The Kingdom? I'm not okay with this. Westworld, Good Girls, also his extraordinary playlist. And I can't take any of them out. I think I'm going to put 911 at number 8. Let me just delete The Mandalorian. Not permanently, just for now. So that goes there. Then Schitt's Creek, Undoing. Mandalorian. See, as I said in the first part of this, the Mandalorian doesn't have the same depth or Mandalorian doesn't have the depth that any of these shows in here have got. They've all got more depth than Mandalorian. Mandalorian's a great, really, really great, fun sci-fi show with some interesting characters, Baby Yoda, and all sorts of other cool stuff. But in terms of like deep storytelling, character development, stakes, drama, it doesn't do any of that anywhere near as good as these other shows, really. It would feel weird to put Mandalorian at 15 because it is fantastic, but the other shows just do other things better. But then, like, none of these other shows do what the Mandalorian does in a way. So, gosh, how long is this podcast going to be? I don't know. The Undoing. See, this is if I like cut the podcast here and then come back and be like, oh, I've made a decision. That's not the point of this. The point is to sit here and I guess debate with myself on my own list. What's better? Right, The Undoing had a annoying finale, but it was a very good show. So for that, it's got to go further down the list. Walking Dead was a very, very good continuation of the return from season 9, with Angela Kang coming in and all that. Walking Dead World Beyond did Fear the Walking Dead's job for it, which is telling the backstory of that whole world, like building on the lore of the world, and like how the army failed and all those sorts of other things. 911 definitely deserves to go 8th at least. See, for me, Better Call Saul and 911 are neck and neck, really. They both had really, really good drama, really interesting villains. Or 911 didn't. 911's villain is whatever injuries or situations the people get in. It doesn't have a Gus Fring or whatever. But they're both pretty equal, but I would put Better Call Saul, I guess, just above 911. Schitt's Creek is really heartfelt. Yeah, Schitt's Creek is really heartfelt. It's got a lot of good humour. The ending was quite good. That's where it beats The Undoing. The ending was really good. That's because when you're talking final seasons, which Schitt's Creek final season, Undoing is a limited series anyway. Walking Dead World Beyond, BoJack ended pretty well. See, BoJack Horseman subverted my expectations in a really good way, and The Undoing sort of tried to do that and then didn't do it and then pretended that it sort of did, if that makes sense. So The Undoing, I'm gonna put The Undoing at 15th. The Undoing. See, I'm getting there eventually. You can't just shove these things into a list and then just read it out, because then you'll have to explain your reasons why later. Outsider, BoJack. Outsider was a great horror thing. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with where The Outsider and The Undoing are, which is near the bottom, which feels a bit harsh to The Outsider because it did some really, really good horror stuff. The finale was a little bit messy. That's another show that's completely finished now. So 3 shows that I've got here that have all finished. 15th, 14th and 13th have all finished. BoJack, Outsider, Undoing. I think that BoJack was... Alright, so is BoJack Horseman better than either of the Walking Dead shows? See, Walking Dead's just improved a lot in the last 2 seasons, and it's continued that momentum, really. Whereas BoJack Horseman never really dropped off, but then I'm talking about the most recent seasons. So, I think I'll keep them there, maybe. Now, Walking Dead and Walking Dead World Beyond. See, I might come back to this later. It's only Monday, and we're not doing the main podcast until Monday next week. So I've still got some time to fully figure this out. This is the part where I always get stuck on the TV list. Like games and films, I'm done with that pretty much. But there's just so much TV every year, and we didn't even have like any of the Marvel shows this year. We didn't have any of the well, yeah, there was going to be like 2 Marvel shows, wasn't there? And all the Marvel films and DC, you know, there's none of the Arrowverse stuff in here to contend with, so it's kind of lucky, really. So Walking Dead, World Beyond, and The Walking Dead, which one was better? I think maybe Walking Dead World Beyond did better this season. I'm talking about the 10th season of The Walking Dead, the one that actually aired this year. I know that it had episode 15 in April and then episode 16 in October, but it's still, season 10 is this year's season. It did a lot of really good things. 12th is pretty high for it. That's the highest I've ever had The Walking Dead on this list, but it's really, really improved over the last couple of seasons, this season included. But World Beyond kind of gave me what I wanted, which is like a next generation young adult kind of thing, and they did that really well, and they did some really good stuff with flashbacks and backstories, and yeah, they did a lot of good work. The Undoing, why have I still got The Undoing written here? Oh, it's because I haven't got Mandalorian written. Alright, so Mandalorian's got to go somewhere. You know what? I'm going to move World Beyond up to 10, Walking Dead up to 11, and I'm going to put, right, Mandalorian is going to go, whoops, I've messed that up. So if I write, let me undo, I don't know what I've done here. The Undoing, right, The Undoing has got to go, I put the Mandalorian at 10th for a minute. And then basically move that, so I've got to shift those up, and then move Mandalorian down. I've confused myself a bit here. Right, Mandalorian's at 10th at the moment. I want that to be above Outsider and Undoing, because even though the Outsider and Undoing aren't are deeper shows than the Mandalorian's a better show, I think, than those two. So if I simply move that there, the Mandalorian there, and then Walking Dead World Beyond goes at 10, and then the main Walking Dead, I can just delete the word World Beyond here. Delete World Beyond. Then you've got Walking Dead, so then you'd put BoJack Horseman. BoJack Horse at 12. Right, I'm pretty happy with that. So, Zoe at 1. Good Girls, Westworld, I'm not okay with this, The Kingdom, Afterlife, Better Call Saul, 911, Schitt's Creek, Walking Dead World Beyond, The Walking Dead, BoJack Horseman, Mandalorian, The Outsider, The Undoing. So yeah, am I happy with that? Am I not? This podcast is going to be very long. I do apologise. But I don't want to cut any of these sort of like deciding kind of moments, and I may as well just record myself deciding this, because I'm deciding it anyway and it's part of the process, so why not just kind of add it on. Outsider. Now I'm wondering between The Outsider and The Mandalorian, because I did like a lot of the horror things in The Outsider, but actually I'm going to put it above Mandalorian. So right, Outsider at 13, Mandalorian at 14. Okay, that feels better to do. Schitt's Creek is better than all these shows. Surprised myself, because I've never really mentioned I've even watched Schitt's Creek anywhere before. Whoops, I just hit my microphone. Schitt's Creek, Walking Dead World Beyond, Walking Dead, BoJack, Outsider, Mandalorian, Undoing. Okay, so that will do it for this piece, I think. There's not much else to really decide here, because we've decided the TV list and spent a very long time doing the second half of that. Honourable mentions, best games, best films. See, I did want to actually finish and put this podcast together tonight, but I guess I won't be doing that. So, because I want to leave it until, because we're doing the podcast Monday night, so I can decide Monday morning. Because I obviously don't want to not change this and then change in the main show and then not have it up to date or whatever. Films, yeah, all good with that. And then all the singular choice categories. I feel like I've left something out, but I'm going to have another think. We've added to the TV list. We had 8 shows. Now we've got 15. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this piece. I'll just update the audio file in the podcast, make the draft, and leave it here for now. So if you don't see another piece added onto this, then you know that that's what I decided in the end. As I said before, the actual deciding podcast, the one where me, David, and Gray all talk about our best TV shows, games, and films for the year, that will be released first. Then this sort of decider podcast will be released later, a week later, and then you can listen to a very long podcast on how I decided what things go where. I knew the TV was going to take up the bunch of this, because it's like when you get to like, okay, things like Schitt's Creek, Mandalorian, and The Outsider are all completely different. Like, one's a heartfelt kind of comedy, one's a really cool sci-fi Star Wars show, and one's a horror show about a serial killer, basically. So, like, how do you decide that? But I like doing things like that as well, and sort of challenging myself. But anyway, if you don't see another piece added onto this, which we'll know anyway, because the podcast will either just be about to end, or it will have another section. But thanks for listening, and yeah, if there's another piece, you'll know. If not, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Alright, back with the final part. This has to be the final part, because we're doing the podcast tomorrow. So let's finalize my list. There's a few things I've just added. So I found a couple of I scrolled through our TV reviews, or my TV reviews, and found a couple of shows. So there's Stargirl Season 1 and The Umbrella Academy Season 2. I also did find Hannah Season 2, but I don't know where that's going to fit here. So what I'm going to do, these other shows that I've just picked out, those are going to be honourable mentions, because I'm not having a top 20, that's just too many. I'm going to have a top 15, which is probably still too many, but there's a lot of competition here. And then have the other 5 that I think it was 5. I found a few more the other day when I was looking through my TV reviews list, and what I'm going to do is just put those as honourable mentions in no particular order. So the other 2 shows, like I said, Stargirl Season 1 and The Umbrella Academy Season 2. So I need to actually write the other one down, the Umbrella Academy Season 2. The other one that I added, I knew I kept forgetting this. Biggest surprise for TV. I knew there was one of these little categories that I'd missed out, one of these little selections. Biggest surprise for TV, Teenage Bounty Hunter Season 1. Came out of nowhere. I didn't know about it at all until the trailer came out. It had its quirky moments, you could say that, but it was a ton of fun. It was an absolute ton of fun. I don't think I'm not going to put it in the TV list, just because I've awarded it something here anyway, so that feels kind of redundant, I suppose. So yeah, I'm going to put that in there. It's the biggest surprise of TV. Teenage Bounty Hunter Season 1 was cancelled by Netflix, but that's still one that I want to put in there. So those are the other shows, a couple of the other shows. I'm pretty sure that I did find 1 or 2 more the other day when I was scrolling, and I don't want to miss any shows. Good Girl Season 3 review, well, that's already on the list. That's from July. So yeah, I've scrolled back about 6 months. Stateless. I can't believe I've forgotten Stateless. I don't know where to put that, because there was a bunch of reviews I did sort of all in one go. There was Stateless. This is in July. Cursed Season 1. I'm not putting that on the list. It was a good show, but doesn't fit in here anywhere. But yeah, then there was Stateless. There was the other 4 reviews I did kind of back to back, which was like Kingdom, I'm Not Okay With This, and all those, but I've put all of those in already. So the only other 2, so that it was 4 extra shows. Well, Cursed I'm not going to put in the list. It was very good. It's got a lot of potential for Season 2, but I don't think it fits here anywhere. See, I don't want to put Stateless as limited series. It already is. I don't want to put Stateless as an honourable mention, because it really did have quite the impact. So yeah, alright, let me go back up then to... See, I knew the TV was going to take longer. I knew it was going to take longer. So Stargirl Season 1, Umbrella Academy Season 2, and Stateless. So, I think, for some reason I've got Mandalorian listed below The Outsider. Let me just change that. I don't remember actually doing that. Maybe I did, but not after that finale. It goes above The Outsider. Mandalorian. Not that The Outsider did anything wrong, just The Mandalorian did things really, really well. Stateless. Where does Stateless go in this list? Because it was just pretty incredible. Right, I'm going to put Stateless at... Right, I'm looking here. So, right, Stateless. Was it better than The Undoing? Yes. Was it better than The Outsider? Yes. Was it better than The Mandalorian? Yes. Although one is a, like, look at humanity with immigration and how that affects people's humanities and lives, and it's really, really deep. And then you've got a really really good sci-fi show that just had an incredible second season. But I think that Stateless is better. BoJack Horseman, it was better than BoJack Horseman. It's better than both Walking Dead shows, so that jumps it up to 9th. Schitt's Creek, was it better than Schitt's Creek? I think it was better than Schitt's Creek. See, how do I compare like a fun comedy to a really serious limited series about like immigration and things like that? Because it didn't only focus on the people that were being, I guess, locked up. It focused on the guards as well and kind of what they go through, especially with a couple of particular characters and how they deal with like the press and the media, and how the people there deal with the press and the media. But was it better than Schitt's Creek? I'm gonna say it's level with Schitt's Creek. 911, I think 911 was better than Stateless. I almost want to put Schitt's Creek and Stateless as both as number 9, but I can't do that. That doesn't make sense. Was it better than Schitt's Creek? Was it better than Schitt's Creek? I think that it was. Right, here's what I'm going to do. This TV list is very harsh. I'm dropping The Undoing down to an honourable mention, so out of 15th place, which is crazy because it's a great HBO show, but it's just, that's just the conclusion I've come to. Dropping that out of there, shifting everything down, and then I'm going to put Stateless above Schitt's Creek. To put Stateless at 9, and then put Schitt's Creek at 10, and then move everything else down. So yeah, I'm going to do that. I do think that's actually this entirely. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to sit here and type that in. I'm going to do that afterwards. I think that's all this list. I think that's plenty of shows and everything else. And then, like I said before, I've got Dragon Prince, Working Mums, just as big honourable mentions, not actually for this year, but just they were so good, I just don't want to not mention them. Games, yeah, Last of Us 2, Crash 4, Iron Man. See, I have been playing Cyberpunk, but I haven't finished it, and I already said that's going to be pushed to next year. Films, I was going to watch Train to Busan, Road to Peninsula, I think it's called, but I haven't actually seen it yet, so I can't put it on the list, because it might be terrible, mightn't it? I think that's it. I think that's this list wrapped up after like an hour podcast or so. But yeah, I think that's that. I'm pretty sure I found all the TV shows, because like I always say, we always forget things that came out earlier in the year. And Stateless was a July show, or at least that's when my review was out, because I'm looking at the date right now. So yeah, that's gonna be that, I think. Yeah. I guess Stateless changed everything, didn't it? So, but that's pretty much the list. Yeah, I'm just going to change it in a minute after I've pressed stop. But like I said, go and, well, you should have listened to the other one first, like I said at the start of the podcast. I'm going to go back and just check what I said at the start, because I've recorded that like last week or 2 weeks ago. This has been spread out over several sessions over like a couple of weeks, or over like a week and a half or so. But yeah, that's my list for 2020. Hope you all enjoyed this possibly insightful episode. Maybe you thought this was a waste of time. I just thought it would be worth recording as I sort out my list. That's all I'm basically doing, and then just posting my recording of me sorting out my list and sort of trying to figure things out. And as I very much expected, the films list was easy to do, games list was easy to do, but the TV was not easy to do. I struggled with it last year. I'm going to struggle with it next year because there's just so much good TV. And it's funny, isn't it? Even in a year with a pandemic, we still had just tons and tons of great shows. I feel kind of harsh leaving Umbrella Academy in the honourable mentions, but it's a tough old list. It's a tough old list. I don't think some people are going to be happy with where I got Mandalorian, but it's my list. If you want to put Mandalorian higher on your list, you can do that. But just know that every single 15, 16, 17, all the 17 shows that I got in this list with your honourable mentioned, I loved every single one of them. A few of them I got little problems here and there, but overall I don't think any of these shows are bad. This is the best side list thing. So anyway, thanks very much for listening. I'm not going to do the full outro, but you can find everything else that we do on entertainmenttalk.org, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.